So what was that like for you? How did your thoughts and feelings change as you went from addiction and substance abuse and substance abuser to a word like recovery, to words like person in recovery? Now, it has taken some time, many meetings, task forces, and summits to define the term recovery. But there is now a consensus definition which defines recovery as a process of change through which individuals improve their health and wellness, live a self-directed life, and strive to reach their full potential. However, it's important to know that recovery means very different things to different people. But this consensus definition gives us the ability to talk about recovery in a similar way, especially when we are involved in advocacy efforts, when we're helping to challenge the stigma associated with addict or substance abuser to this new perspective of people who are living and thriving in their recovery. For many people in recovery, there are common essential elements of recovery, and these include things like being honest with oneself, handling negative feelings without using drugs or alcohol, being able to enjoy life without drinking or using drugs, engaging in this ongoing process of growth and development, reacting to life's ups and downs in a more balanced way, and taking responsibility for things that are changeable while making amends for things that might not be changeable. The Spartan Recovery Program believes that recovery is a personally defined construct that includes lived experience with addictions to alcohol or other drugs and a commitment to a lifestyle of health, wellness, and quality of life. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration published this working definition of recovery along with several principles of recovery. And those are that recovery is person driven. Recovery emerges from a person with adequate supports and resources. Recovery occurs via many pathways. One person's pathway to recovery may not be the same as others. One person may enter into recovery through the criminal justice system, while another person might sort of have an epiphany one day, and another person might be aware of the consequences of the way. Recovery is holistic. It takes into account the biological, the psychological, the social, and the cultural systems that influence substance use and also recovery. It's supported by peers. It's supported by other people in recovery and allies to people in recovery. It's supported through relationships and community. It's culturally based and influenced. Again, substance use and recovery treatment are viewed very differently by different cultures. Not to mention that communities of people that use substances also have their unique culture. So it's important that when we talk about recovery, we talk about supporting recovery, that we take a culturally informed approach. Recovery is supported by addressing trauma. A lot of substance use emerges from previous traumatic experiences, but the simple fact of using substances, along with some of the risky behaviors that come with using substances, results in additional trauma. So incorporating trauma-informed, sensitive care into this treatment model is very important, and into this recovery support model is very important. It's necessary to involve individuals, families, and community strengths and responsibilities. So it's not just the person in recovery's responsibility to enhance the recovery community. It is all of our responsibilities, whether we've had experience with addiction personally or not. It's based on respect, and I can't highlight this enough. People in recovery are still people. People in recovery have tremendous assets and resiliency and strengths to the community. And we really view the Spartan Recovery Program as an investment in those strengths, an investment in a group of students that will significantly transform their lives as well as the lives of those around them and the lives of the community in which they exist. And finally, it emerges from hope. And this is the important part to Recovery Zone and raising awareness to this new recovery movement at UNC Greensboro. It is essential that people know the hope of recovery It is essential that people know the stories of recovery. It is essential that people see faces and voices of recovery. And it is important that we as allies support students in recovery to do that, but as allies that we also carry that message and hope of recovery to all those that we come into contact with, to every table that we exist, that we sit at in the university, to every committee, to every task force, to every board that we're on. I challenge and encourage you to bring that message and hope of recovery to those experiences and those relationships that you already have. Young people in recovery have also spoken out about what an ideal system of recovery would look like for them. And the first is that recovery is viewed as desirable. You know, nobody wants to begin a life of recovery if it's dull and dreary. Recovery is an enriching experience. And in my experience, recovery is infectious. So as allies in recovery, we need to show folks how infectious this recovery is. It needs to be youth focused in services and facilities. It needs to take into account the experiences and the wants and the needs of students in recovery, of young people in recovery, as well as older folks in recovery too. It requires family as well as system transformation through education to promote and empower people in recovery. That's what we're doing here with Recovery Zone. It requires alcohol and drug-free community centers, resources, and activities. There has to be places to go and things to do. It needs to focus on not only enhancing recovery, but on developing skills, education, and resources to build a sound future with a purpose. Again, it's not just about protection. It is far more than that. It is about investing in students to go and transform their lives as well as the lives of other people around them. And it's about integrating recovery support services in high schools as well as college campuses. And at the Spartan Recovery Program, it's very important that we do that we reach out to the surrounding community and provide a transition opportunity for students in recovery to achieve an education that they desire, that they might face additional barriers, and if it weren't for allies like you and the Spartan Recovery Program.